Most people spend their lives pinned under a weight they cannot even see. They believe they are simply waiting for the right time, more motivation, or the perfect Monday to finally begin. But every day they delay, that invisible burden quietly grows heavier, making the first step feel even more impossible than it did yesterday. The moment he quietly says, "I'll start tomorrow," everything changes. That single word feels harmless, even comforting, but it opens the door for procrastination to take control. Instead of reducing the burden, tomorrow silently adds even more weight to everything he already struggles to carry today. Most people think they have endless opportunities ahead of them. But that belief is one of the brain's greatest illusions. The average human life is only about 30,000 days, and every day you postpone becomes another day permanently removed from that limited budget of time. When you promise yourself that you'll finally begin tomorrow, your brain rewards the promise itself. You experience the emotional satisfaction of planning without paying the physical cost of action, creating the dangerous illusion that progress has already started when, after repeating this pattern again and again, something far more damaging begins to happen. Your brain slowly stops believing your promises because every broken commitment becomes evidence that your words cannot be trusted, quietly destroying the foundation of confidence and genuine self-belief from within. Today, we are not searching for another productivity hack or another motivational quote that fades away after a few hours. We are going to understand why your brain keeps betraying your intentions and how ancient samurai philosophy combined with modern neuroscience can finally break this destructive cycle for good. Have you ever started learning a language, joined a gym, launched a business idea, or committed to reading every day with incredible excitement, only to completely lose that energy a few days later? It feels confusing, but it isn't because you're lazy or incapable of succeeding. What you experienced is something psychologists often describe as inner death. The excitement doesn't disappear because your dream suddenly became impossible. It disappears because your brain rapidly adapts to familiarity, causing the emotional fire that once fueled your ambition to quietly burn out. Your brain runs on dopamine, but not in the way most people believe. Dopamine is not the chemical responsible for pleasure itself. Instead, it creates anticipation, curiosity, and the powerful desire to seek something rewarding before you actually receive the reward. Scientists discovered this in a famous experiment, where monkeys experienced their biggest dopamine spike not when they finally received the juice, but when a simple light appeared promising that the reward was coming. Your brain becomes addicted to possibility more than certainty. Once your brain understands how something works, the novelty begins to disappear. The challenge no longer feels mysterious, and because your brain has already solved the puzzle, the powerful dopamine signal starts fading. Suddenly, what once felt exciting begins to feel ordinary, repetitive, and emotionally flat. This is why so many intelligent and highly curious people abandon projects halfway through. They are not addicted to success itself. They are addicted to uncertainty, discovery, and the excitement of learning something new. Once certainty replaces curiosity, their motivation quietly begins disappearing. Every unfinished project leaves behind more than disappointment. It becomes another piece of evidence stored inside your brain. Without realizing it, your mind starts building a story that says, "I always quit." And eventually, that story feels more believable than your actual potential. Eventually, the wall becomes so high that you stop believing your dreams are even possible. The obstacle is no longer your lack of ability. It is the collection of memories proving to your brain that every promise you make eventually ends exactly the same way. The tragedy is that none of this happens because you're weak. It happens because your brain is simply following the patterns you have repeatedly taught it. The good news is that patterns can always be changed, and every new action becomes the beginning of a different identity. Your brain is not designed to seek truth above everything else. It is designed to keep you alive long before logic has a chance to speak. Your brain scans every situation for comfort, danger, and uncertainty, making emotional decisions before your conscious mind even realizes what is happening. Whenever you face an important task, your emotional brain immediately asks one simple question: is this comfortable? If the answer is no, your fear center activates before logic can respond, convincing you that avoiding the task feels safer than actually doing it. That is exactly when your brain whispers its favorite lie: "You don't have to do this now. Tomorrow will be easier." It feels like a logical decision, but it is actually nothing more than an emotional escape from temporary discomfort. Every time you choose your phone instead of your work, you teach your brain an important lesson. The difficult task becomes associated with danger, while the phone becomes associated with safety, comfort, and immediate relief. This is how avoidance quietly becomes an automatic habit. This is why so many intelligent people mistakenly believe they are lazy. In reality, they are not lacking discipline. They are simply overstimulated by constant digital rewards, causing normal work to feel painfully slow compared to endless novelty and instant entertainment. The samurai understood something modern psychology is only now beginning to confirm. Your greatest enemy is rarely another person. It is the version of yourself that constantly negotiates, delays action, and keeps saying, "I'll start tomorrow." To escape the tomorrow trap, the samurai followed a philosophy now known as Kaizen, the practice of improving by just 1% every day. Instead of chasing dramatic breakthroughs, they trusted tiny actions repeated consistently over long periods of time. Your inner death happens because your ego wants massive progress immediately. It demands 2 hours of studying, intense workouts, or huge achievements. But your brain sees that intensity as danger and instinctively begins resisting before you even start. The samurai chose a different strategy. Instead of satisfying the ego, they reduced every challenge until it became almost impossible to refuse. The goal was never intensity. The goal was simply beginning, because action creates momentum far better than motivation ever can. If you cannot write for an hour, write 1 paragraph. If you cannot complete a full workout, do 10 push-ups. Every tiny action changes the direction of your life, just like turning a steering wheel by 1 small degree eventually leads to a completely different destination. Real consistency never comes from having unlimited willpower. Willpower fades as the day goes on because every decision drains your mental energy. The people who stay consistent don't rely on motivation. They build environments that make the right choice easier than the wrong one. Psychologists call this environmental design. Instead of trying to become mentally stronger every single day, you simply remove unnecessary temptations before they can demand your attention. Success becomes automatic because your surroundings quietly guide your behavior in the right direction. Start by lowering the noise. For the next 30 days, reduce the constant flood of short-form videos, endless scrolling, and digital stimulation. A brain that is constantly interrupted loses its ability to focus deeply on anything meaningful. Next, increase friction for bad habits and decrease friction for good ones. Place your phone in another room, log out of distracting apps, and keep the tools for your goals within easy reach, so taking action becomes the simplest decision available. Finally, remember the 90-second rule. The uncomfortable urge to procrastinate is only a temporary chemical wave inside your brain. If you breathe, stay still, and avoid reacting immediately, that urge will naturally lose its power and quietly disappear. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Your brain does not believe your intentions or your promises. It believes the evidence created by your repeated actions, no matter how small those actions may seem. Every time you keep even the smallest promise to yourself, you strengthen self-trust. Waking up when the alarm rings, finishing 1 paragraph, or exercising for only a few minutes tells your brain that your words can be trusted again. Confidence is not something you magically feel before taking action. Confidence is built afterward, when your brain collects enough evidence that you are someone who consistently finishes what you start instead of endlessly waiting for motivation. You do not need to become fearless before you begin. You simply need to become psychologically reliable. Fear may still exist, but every completed action proves that fear no longer gets to decide what happens next. One version of you spends life trapped behind an enormous wall built from unfinished goals and broken promises. The other reaches the mountaintop using thousands of tiny bricks, each representing 1 small promise that was actually kept. The tomorrow trap is not your enemy because it is powerful. It is your enemy because it is believable. It convinces you that growth can always wait until tomorrow, while quietly stealing the only moment in which change can actually happen right now. The samurai believed you cannot control tomorrow, next week, or next year. You can only control your action and your reaction in this exact moment. Every meaningful life is built by mastering today's decisions instead of negotiating with imaginary future versions of yourself. Stop waiting for someday to finally become disciplined, motivated, or confident. Begin with today's 1% improvement. Pick up 1 small brick, complete 1 meaningful action, and let consistency, not emotion, decide the direction of your future. The person you become 1 year from now will not be created by 1 extraordinary day. They will be created by hundreds of ordinary decisions repeated consistently, especially during the moments when nobody is watching and excuses feel easiest. Tomorrow does not exist. You only have this moment, this decision, and this opportunity to begin. The wall is moved 1 brick at a time, and your future is built exactly the same way. Start now, because your life is already counting.